We begin today the Gemara, the last line on Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis, where it says, Omar Rava. This goes back to the Mishnah we learned before. A man was Mekadesh a woman with dates. So there were two cases in the Mishnah. The first case in the Mishnah was, he said to her, Hiskachili b'tamarazu. And then he said a separate statement again, Hiskachili b'tamarazu. So because he said a separate statement regarding one date and another date, so only if one date alone has a value of a pruta will she be mukadeshes. You can't combine them. Then the Mishnah said another case where he tells her Iskachili bezu, should be mukadeshes me with this date. Then he says bezu with this date, and then a third date. So over here, because he didn't use the term iskachi in between, if you combine all of them and they have the value of a shava pruta, she'll be mukadeshes. Then came the third point in the Mishnah, where he said to her, well, the third point in the Mishnah talks about a case where she took, as soon as he tells you, I'm being Mekadeshi with this day, she takes the date and eats it up right away. She eats up the first one, then she eats up the second one, she eats up the third one. So the Mishnah there says, only if one of them has the value of a pruta will she be Mekadeshes, because she ate up the dates right away. So only that date, if there's one date that she ate, it has a value, so she's Mekadeshes. Okay. So now there were two pshatim in the Mishnah. Let's start with one pshat, which is what Rav is going to focus on now. The Gemara soon is going to come back to the second pshat. So one pshat in the Mishnah was that the Mishnah is referring to the second case mentioned before, when he told her Eskachili bezu, and then bezu, and bezu, and he didn't say complete separate statements. It goes together. But what happened was, when he told her Eskachili bezu, so she immediately went and took that date and ate it. And then he told her, he continues speaking to her. He's not done yet. The Kidushin he's not done with his words of the Kidushin. He tells her, bezu, and then another one. She takes it and she eats it right away. And then he says again, bezu, a third one, she eats it right away. So on that, the Gemara said, and this is the pshat that Rav Ami explained before, that if the first date she ate had a shava pruta in it, now 2 points. First of all, you can't combine now all these dates together to say that she's Mekadeshes. Because by the time you come to the second date, the third date, the first date is gone already. She ate it already. Second date, she eats right away. When you come to the third date, the other dates are not here anymore. Right? So how's she going to be? You can't combine all of them together. So the Mishnah said, if one of them have the value of a shava pruta, then she'll be mukadeshes. So Rav Ami explained before, what this means is, if the first one had a value of a shava pruta, she's still not going to be mukadeshes, because he didn't finish saying the words that he wants to tell her to be Mekadeshes. So she eats the first one, and now that's not yet a date for Kidushin at this point, because he didn't finish yet. And she ate it up right away. The moment she eats it up, what happens is, she really now owes him the value of this date that she just ate, that she got not for Kidushin yet. So how could it be Mekadesher with that date? It's just a halva. She owes him the value of that date. So therefore, Rav Ami said, the pshat of the Mishnah was, if the last date that she's eating has the value of a shava pruta, so now that last date is here right now, and he's telling you, bezu, you should be mekadeshes with this. So if this one itself has the value of a shava pruta, she'll be mekadeshes. He told her he wants to be mekadesher with everything together. So right, the dates before that she already ate is like a loan. She just owes him the value of that. But the last date is an actual pruta, and he's being mekadesher with that, and that's what her das is on, and that's what she'll be mekadeshes with. That's the way Rav Ami explained this.
You didn't use the word mekudeshet for every time
he said once eskachi, once, and then he said bezu, 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 and she eats every time he gives her one, she eats it right away. And the last one though, that's the one she becomes mekadeshes with. That was the pshat Rav Ami said. And this is what Rava is following up on. Omar Rava says, Rava loishanu ela da'amala bezu ubezu ubezu. So this halacha, the way Rav Ami explained the Mishnah, is only if he said to her, I'm being mekadeshu bezu bezu bezu, and she went and each time she got one date, she ate it up. So then I'm going to say that she's only mekadeshes with the last one. Can't be mekadeshes with the previous ones, because that's like a loan. It's just the value of the date that she owes him. But the date itself is gone. But what if the husband comes and there's a few dates sitting here, and he tells her, I'm being mekadeshi with all these dates that are sitting here, and he gives her then one by one. Even if he gave her one of those dates and she ate it immediately, and then he gave her another one, then he gave her another one. So nami mekacha, she'll be mekadeshes. Again, even if she ate one by one, nami mekudeshes, that is, she'll be mekudeshes. Why? And she'll be mukadeshes even if only the first one has the value of a shava pruta. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be dafka the last one. If even only the first one has the value of a shava pruta, she'll also be mekadeshes. We had before the problem, if she ate it up, the Kidushin doesn't take effect until later. And once she ate it up before, so now the date is gone, and all there is over here is the fact that she owes him the value of that date that she just ate. So how could she be mekadeshes with this date? But in such a case, when he already said before that I'm being mekadeshi with all of these, he said be'elu, so he finished his words of Kiddushin. He already told her what he's being mekadesh with everything. So now what she's eating, you can't say that what she ate is now becomes a loan that she's going to owe him to give it back until the Kiddushin is done. He already said in advance that all these dates sitting here, let's say there's 3 dates sitting here. He already told her that all 3 dates are dates of Kiddushin. He finished his words of Kiddushin. Once he finished saying his words of Kiddushin, now the dates that she gets are dates of Kiddushin, and they combine one to another. When do we say that the date that she ate in the beginning is not a date of Kiddushin, and therefore when she ate it, so now she owes him to give it back to him until the Kiddushin is chal later, at the end? That's only if he didn't finish his dibur of Kiddushin. If he tells her, Arei Mekadesh Shli Bezu, and he's not done speaking yet, he gives her the date, and she goes and eats it right away. But he's not done speaking yet. He didn't finish even the words of Kiddushin. Then he says Bezu again, and Bezu. So he wants to add to what the Kiddushin is going to be. So then I say that the date that she ate in the beginning was not yet a complete Kiddushin B'chlal. So therefore when she ate a date that's not yet connected to the Kiddushin, and she owes it to him, and therefore she can't be Mekadeshes with that once she ate it. But once he says Be'elu, he's telling her in advance, and he's done his words of Kiddushin. All these dates, this is what I'm being Mekadesh you with. So when she eats it, she got the date for Kiddushin, and then she ate one part of a Kiddushin, she eats another part of a Kiddushin, she eats the third part, and they could all combine together to be a Kiddushin. Even if they only have a Shav Pruta all together, she'll be Mekadeshes. Tanya Kavasei de Rava. The Gemara brings is a brisa that says like Rava. Brisa says, "Eskatshili ba'alein." A person says to a woman, "You should be mekadeshes to me with an alein," which is what? What's the translation of amal? A what?
Acorn.
An acorn. I don't think it's human consumption here. What Rashi over here says that it's not really made for human consumption, but sometimes people roast it and eat it. Okay. Or berimain, not or. He says to her, you should be mekadeshes to me with an alein, and also with a rimain, with a pomegranate, and be'egais with a nut. That's one thing he told her. He told the Sha'am Allah, hiskachili be'elu. There are different things sitting on the table, and he said, here, you should be mekadeshes to me with these fruits sitting here. So he used the term elu. This was the case that Rava just spoke about, where he's being mekadesher with everything together, and he's telling her right from the beginning, with elu, with all of these. If you combine them all together, and they have the value of a shava pruta mekadeshes, she'll be mekadeshes. V'im lav, if it does not have the value of a shava pruta, eina mukadeshes. But you could combine the value of all of them together. He's telling her be'elu with all of them together. Now, if he tells her that he's being mekadesher bezu ubezu ubezu, so he's not saying it all together as one elu, but he's telling her I'm being mekadesher with this fruit, and with this. Im yesh bekulam, again here, the Brisa says the halacha is the same thing. Im yesh bekulam shava pruta, if you could combine all of them together, and they all have the value of a shava pruta, so then mukadeshes. She'll be mukadeshes. Vim lav, ein mukadeshes. If not, she will not be mukadeshes. So the Brisa divides this into 2 different cases, as we'll see soon in the Gemara, because the next case of this Brisa only relates to the second case we just said, and not to the first case. So as you see here, in this Brisa, both of these cases it just mentions, it's talking about a situation where the person speaks in such a way that you could combine the value of everything together for her to be mukadeshes. It does not bring up the case of our Mishnah where the man spoke to the woman in such a way where he's dividing. In our Mishnah, it brought a case where the person said that hiskachili bezu, and then he said again hiskachili bezu, where he divides it one from another. But over here, in both of these cases, he didn't say language that divides one from another, so therefore you could combine the value of all of them that you should be mukadeshes. Then says the Brisa Vaiter, if he tells her, Bezu, you should be Mekadeshes to me with this one. Not lasai v'achlasai. She took that one and she ate it right away. But the man's not done talking yet. And then he says, Bezu, with another one. Not lasai, she took it right away, v'achlasai, and she ate it. Or v'oid Bezu. He said the expression of v'oid Bezu. He said one, and then he said v'oid Bezu, and this one as well. And v'oid Bezu, and this one as well. and she went and ate each one right away. So then, because she ate it up, Eina Mukadeshes, Achiye, Ba'achas Men, Shava Pruta. She's not going to be Mukadeshes unless one of them has the value of a Shava Pruta, because as soon as she got one, she ate it up. So she can't be Mukadeshes with that one. You can't combine one to another because she already ate it up. So then, she'll only be Mukadeshes if one of them has the value of a Shava Pruta. Okay, that till here is the lashon of the Braise. So, okay, just before we go right in the Gemara will basically explain that what you see here is that when it says that there's a problem with the fact that she ate up one date and therefore you can't combine all of them together, that problem only relates to the second case that it said here. When she said bezu ubezu, when the man said bezu ubezu ubezu. So because he didn't finish talking yet, and he's in the middle of telling her what the Kidushin is going to consist of, when she eats something, before he finishes telling her what the Kidushin consists of, then there's a problem that I can't combine them. But regarding the first case of the Braisa, when he said be'elu, in such a case, if she eats as one of these fruits when she gives it to her, it's not going to be a problem. That's going to be the conclusion of the Gemara, and that's the proof of Rava. But before the Gemara proves that, the Gemara just clarifies the pshat in the first case that it said in this Braisa. First case it said here was that he told her he's being mekadesher ba'aloin, berimain, ube'egais. Three things: a acorn, a pomegranate, and a nut. What did he mean by this? The Gemara just clarifies that pshat, and then it comes back to this point that I just said. Let's see. Says the Gemara, "Hi ba'aloin, berimain, ube'egais, hey chidami." When he said to her that he's being mekadesher with these three things, what did he mean to say? Ilay medam Allah. Did he mean to tell her oy ba'aloin, oy berimain, oy be'egais, that I'm being mekadesher with either one of these? Not all of them together, but with either one of them. So what does it say in the Braisa? Im yesh b'kol shava pruta mikadeshes, that only if all of them together have the value of a shava pruta, so then she's going to be mikadeshes. But how could that be? V'ha'oika amar. He said either with this one or with that one, which means that one alone. He's being mikadesher only with either or, not with all of them together. So each one separately should have to have the value of a shava pruta. So must be what he said to her is, be'aloin, I'm being mekadesh you with this acorn, uberimai, with the pomegranate, ube'egais, with a nut. So says the Gemara, but hainu bezu be'ubezu ubezu. That sounds like the second case of the Braise, where the husband is spelling out with this, and with this, and over here he's just naming them, but it's basically the same thing. So this doesn't belong in the Reisha. This really belongs with the second case of the Braise. So Elalav, the Gemara clarifies the pshat over here, and this is the Omar law. He's telling her be'elu. When he said to her ba'aloin, berimain, and be'egais, it really means he said to her with these. He had all three on the table, and he said to her, I'm being mekadeshu with all these together. Fragt the Gemara, but how could he say that's what it means? Hamidiktani seife. But then afterwards, it continues and says the next case, Oisha amala eskachi li be'elu. So then it brings up this example where he tells her, I'm being Mekadeshu with these, Meklal Deresha Lav Be'elu Askina. Doesn't that mean that the first case where it says Aloin, Rimoin, Egois, he's not telling her I'm being Mekadeshu with these? So the one answers, no, these two cases in the beginning of the Braise and the Reisha of the Braise are not two separate cases. Pirushe kamafarish. The Braise is just spelling out what it meant to say. It starts off saying that he told her, Hiskachili Ba'aloin, Berimoin, Be'egais. And then the Braisa spells that out. Ketzad, what do I mean by this? Kagoin, the Omar law is Gachili Beilu. He told her that he's being Mekadesher with all these together. That's the Reisha of the Braisa. Okay, so the point, again, like I said, the Gemara is just clarifying the Reisha of the Braisa. The first case of the Braisa is that he told her, I'm being Mekadeshi with all these together. So he finished his dibur of Kidushin. And she knows exactly that it's all for Kidushin. Then now she can take it and eat it. If she'll eat it, it doesn't make any difference. And then comes the next case of the Braisa, where he said bezu, bezu, or bezu, and that's where the Braisa said there's a difference if she eats one and then another, and then she'll only be Mekadeshes if one has a Shava Pruta, as the Gemara now explains. Okutani Seife, what does it say in the end of the Braisa here? Bezu, not lasevach lasai. If he told her that he's being Mekadesher with this, and he didn't finish talking yet. He didn't finish saying, he wants to now go ahead and say that there's another one that he wants to be Mekadesher with. And as soon as she got one of them, she took it and ate it. Over here, on this case of the Braisa, it says, that if one of them has the value of a Shava Pruta, she'll be Mekadeshes. And if not, she will not be Mekadeshes. And according to the way that Rav Ami already explained in the Mishnah, that would have to be that the last one had the value of a Shava Pruta, not the ones before, because then it would be like a loan. But v'ilu reisha, when it comes to the beginning of the Braisa, and what's the first case of the Braisa? When you told her right from the beginning, be'elu, that I'm being Mekadeshi with all of these. So he already finished his dibur of the Kidushin. So over here it's clear to her that it's all for Kidushin. So then, loika maflig bein eicheles lamanachas. Over here, in the Reish of the Braisa, it doesn't make any difference if she eats it immediately or if she lets it all sit on the table. Either way, she's going to be Mekadeshes. If you could combine the value of a Shava Pruta of all of them together, she will be Mekadeshes. So Shmami no, from here I see the halacha that Rav said, Kol heicha the amalah, the elu. If the husband says to his wife that are being Mekadeshi with all of these, Ki ka'achla minafsha ka'achla. She's eating from a portion of what he's giving her for the purpose of Kiddushin. And if he's giving it to her for Kiddushin, it's hers for Kiddushin. And even if she eats it, she's eating from the Kiddushin, and it can all combine together to be for Kiddushin. Shmami no, from here I see the halacha that Rav said. Now the Gemara will come back to the pshat that we had before in the Mishnah when you get to this case of Eicheles, when she ate one and then she ate the other. So before in the Mishnah, the Gemara brought on Daf Memvav Amud Aleph the pshat of Rav and Shmuel. When it spoke there about the case that she ate one, she ate the other, so Rav and Shmuel said, what was that going on? It's actually going on the case of the Reisha of the Mishnah. What was the Reisha of the Mishnah? Where he told her his skachili bezu, and he divided it, and then he's told her again his skachili bezu. So he's dividing one from another. And in such a case, over there is where it was saying that if she ate one, then she'll be Mukadeshes only if one has the value of a Shava Pruta. And the Gemara before explained what's the Chiddush. If he divided in his words, he said clearly that I only want you to be Mukadeshes with one and not with the other, because he's separated with the word Eskachi. Why is it saying only if she ate, then she'll be Mukadeshes if one has a Shava Pruta? The Gemara asked the question, even if they're all sitting together on the table, one must have a value of a Shava Pruta because he's making it clear that he's only being Mekadesher with one. So the Gemara before explained that it's coming to say a chiddush that you may have thought that if she ate it right away, it shows how much she enjoys it. Mekarva hana asayu. So maybe she can be mekadeshes with that, even if it does not have a value of a shava pruta. So on that it came and says that no, she'll be mekadeshes only if it has a value of a shava pruta. That was the pshat of Rav and Shmuel. Now the thing is, that pshat that Rav and Shmuel said fits in the Mishnah, where the Mishnah actually said this case, where he tells her iskachili bezu, and then he used an expression, hiskachili bezu, to show that he's dividing one from another. But here in the Braisa, it doesn't even bring up that case. So how are Rav and Shmuel going to explain the Braisa here? Says the Gemara, so what we said all until now is all good according to the opinion, which is Rav Ami that explained Aseifekoi, that when it speaks about the case that she got the date and she ate it right away, it's going on the case of the Seifer, which is the case where he told her bezu, ubezu, ubezu, umay achie bachas mem shava pruta. And then when the Braisa says that she'll be mekadeshes if one of them has the value of a shava pruta, which one is that one of them? That has to be Ache Bachreina Shava Pruta. It's only if the last one has the value of a Shava Pruta, because that last one is still here. So she'll be Mekadeshes with it. The previous ones become like a loan. She ate it already. And therefore she owes it to him. So it's just the value of a loan. That she can't be Mekadeshes with. So Hachanami, just like we said that Pshat in the Mishnah, so here the Braisa brings up the same case. So the Pshat in the Braisa is the same. Ache Bachreina Shava Pruta. When it says Achas Mehen refers to the last one. And the last one is a Shava Pruta, should be Mekadeshes. However, Rav and Shmuel both did not accept this pshat, because after all, the lashon of the Mishnah and the Braisa is ba'achas mehen. Ba'achas mehen sounds like that if any one of them have the value of a Shava Pruta, should be Mekadeshes, lav dafka the last one. So therefore, Rav and Shmuel had another pshat. What was their pshat? Going back to the Mishnah before in Daf Memvav, their pshat was areisha koi. Then it's going back to the reisha of the Mishnah, where he told her hiskachili bezu, and he separated. He said hiskachili bezu. So he made clear that I want you to be mekadeshes only with one of them. And v'oicheles itzrechele. The chiddush of the Mishnah was, even though she's eating it right away and she shows that she enjoys it, but still she'll be mekadeshes only if it has the value of a shava pruta. So that's the pshat that Rav and Shmuel both said in our Mishnah. But if so, now coming to the Braisa here, in the Braisa you can't say this pshat, because hacha klali kachashiv. Here in the Braisa, it only brings cases where the husband included them all together. Prati like kachashiv. Over here, it doesn't mention in the Braisa this case that was brought in the Mishnah where he said hiskachili bezu, hiskachili bezu. So how do you apply that pshat here in the Braisa? Answers the Gemara. Rav and Shmuel will answer you. Ha mani rebihi. The last case in the Braisa, when it says that he gave her and she ate, and he gave her again and she ate, and what was the case? He told her bezu, ubezu, ubezu. So in this case, we're going according to Rebbe, the Amar. Rebbe says, so first let's read the words of the Gemara inside and I'll explain. Rebbe says, and this is in the Gemara in Masechtas Zvachim, Loishna kizayis. It makes no difference if the person says a term, kizayis, one kizayis, another kizayis, or veloishna kizayis, kizayis. Even if the person uses a vav, which is connecting the two, when he says kizayis and another kizayis, prata havi. This separates one from another. So what the Gemara is saying is that the last case here in the Braise goes according to Rebbe that says that even if the husband did not clearly say hiskacheli bezu, and again hiskacheli bezu, he just said bezu u bezu. The very fact that he divided the Kidushin by the words bezu and bezu, it's considered that he's dividing one from the other, and he's making it clear to her, I want you to be Mekadeshes or with this, but not with them together. And therefore, you cannot combine them together. So just like Rav and Shmuel's pshat applies to our Mishnah, where he said separately, hiskacheli, the Gemara before in Daf Mem Vav said that that's according to Rab Shimon. Only if he said separately, hiskacheli, does it mean that he's making it clear that he wants it to be Mekadeshes only with one and not with the other. According to Rebbe, by the very fact that he said bezu u bezu, it separates one from another, and therefore on that, the Braisa is saying the halacha, that if she ate one and she ate another, she'll only be Mekadeshes with one that she ate. Because he's making it clear to her that she can be Mekadeshes only with one and not with another. Right? And the Chiddush over here is the same like in the Mishnah, that even though she's eating it right away and she's enjoying it, you may have thought that she should be Mekadeshes with less than a Shava Pruta, still she's only Mekadeshes with a Shava Pruta. Now, where did Rebbe say this halacha regarding Kizayis? So Rashi here brings the whole thing. The Kitzur, the point is, B'nigeya to the machshava of a carbon. When a person has not the right thought when he's bringing a carbon, it passels the carbon. There's two kinds of machshavas. There's a machshava a person could have to eat it shaloi bizmanai, out of its time frame, or a person could have a machshava shaloi bimkaimai, to eat it out of its place. There's a big difference. Shaloi bizmanai, it becomes pigul. You chayiv kares for that. Shaloi bimkaimai is not so severe. If you think to eat it out of its place, it only becomes puzzle. Now the din of pigul is only if the carbon is only puzzle with the machshava of pigul. If there's any other psul in the carbon there, then it does not become pigul. It has to be exclusively pigul. So according to Rebbe, if first the kain out of machshava shaloi bizmanai, and he said one kizayis that he's going to eat it shaloi bizmanai. And then he said regarding another kizayis that is going to eat it shaloi b'mekaymai, so that's a different psul. But because he said separately one kizayis and another kizayis, these are separate from each other. One doesn't affect the other, and therefore the concept of pigul applies for one kizayis, and it's not affected by the fact that there's another psul here, because that other psul, the kayin made clear that that's on a separate kizayis. Just by mentioning one kizayis and another, it separates one from another. So the Gemara is applying Rebbe's opinion here as well by Kidushin, that if the husband said bezu and bezu, so it separates one from another, and therefore he wants to be Mekadesher only with one date and not with the other date. And that's what the Mishnah, that's what the Braise here is speaking about. Okay, let's continue. The Gemara now goes on the sugya of Mekadesh b'milveh. And here it brings the source of what Rav said about this. Omar Rav said, HaMekadesh b'milveh einu mekadeshes. A person is Mekadesh a woman with a loan that he lent her money before, and I comes and tells her, the money that I lent you, I'm being meichel. You can keep that loan, and with the fact that you can keep this money of the loan, you'll be Mekadeshes. So einu mekadeshes. The Kidushin does not take effect. Why not? Because milveh lo yitzah nitna, the money that he gave her was given to her to spend, and therefore it's not her money. Which means even if that money that he lent her is still in her possession, but it's not hers. So he's being mekadesher with money that doesn't belong to the man anymore. He gave it to her ready to spend. Being meichelit is not actual money that he's giving her now. He's just saving her the fact that she won't have to pay him back later, but the money is already hers. Says the Gemara name Tanoi, shall we say that this is a machlokes Tanoim? Seems to say clearly in the Braisa, Mekadesh b'milveh, einu mekadeshes. You mekadesh a woman with a loan, she's not mekadeshes. Another opinion is mekadeshes. No, she is mekadeshes with a loan. My la baka miflagi. Don't you think they're arguing in this exact svara that we said and what the halacha that Rav said? The Marsava milveh lo yitzah nitna. The first opinion is when you give a loan, the money is hers now to spend, so therefore there's no money here that the man is being mekadesher with. Umar Sava, but the Yeshayimrim holds Milva Lavlights on it now. Money that you give, that you lend money to someone to spend, he could only spend it on something if that money, or at least the value of the money, still remains present. She can never spend the money in a way that it's invested in something where the money is gone and then she'll have to get the money back later sometime. Money always has to be intact here. And therefore, that money is the money of the man that always has to be here, and therefore you can be Mekadesher with it. Says the Gemara, V'tizbere, is this a good pshat for this braisa? Aim is seifa. Look at what it says at the seifa of that braisa. B'shavim, everybody would agree, b'mecher. If a person is selling and he wants to sell a property, and how's he going to pay? How's the buyer going to pay for this property? The buyer tells the seller, "Oh, I once lent you money, and now I'm paying you with this loan that I'm being meichel that I lent you this money." So everybody agrees when it comes to a sale, shezeh kana, that you could use this loan for a kinyan. But the question is, why? Why would everybody agree by a sale that this would work? If you're going to say that a loan is made to spend, so that money belongs already to the seller. It's his. He was lent to him and it's his to spend. It's his own money. So b'mai kani, how could a buyer say, I'm buying this property with the money that I lent you before, and I'm being meichel that money is the seller's and it's gone? So therefore, the Gemara says there has to be a different shot in this brayse. Omer Rav Nachman said, Huna Chaverin, Rav Huna, our friend, Maikim Lo B'Mila Ochri, he explained that this brayse is talking about a completely different case. V'hocha b'mayis kinon, what it's talking about over here is as follows. Kagoin sha'am Allah, the man says to the woman, Hiskachi li b'moneh. Here, you should be mekadeshes to me with a money, which let's say is $100. And then v'nimtzim moneh chased dinner. It comes out it's missing a dinner, she finds only $99 there. So it's missing. Mar Sovar, so now here the machlokes is, will she be mekadeshes if he gives her $99, missing that last dollar? So Mar Sovar ksivala milsel mitva. The first opinion here in this brayse is saying she's embarrassed to demand that last dollar, and therefore she only relied on the Kidushin for what she was told in the beginning, that it'll be $100. And now she only got 99, and she's embarrassed to ask for the other dollar, so she's not going to be mekadeshes. The other opinion here is like that no, she's not embarrassed to ask for that extra dollar. She's going to ask for that extra dollar. She expects to get it, and therefore she relies on this, what she was told in the beginning, that she'll be mekadeshes with $100, and she'll be mekadeshes. That's the case over here. And on that, the Braisa said that when it comes to a sale, a seller is not embarrassed. It's the question of whether she's embarrassed or not is regarding a woman by Kidushin. But regarding a seller, he's not embarrassed to ask for that extra dollar that he was told that is going to be paid for the sale. So there, everyone agrees that the sale will take effect. So the Gemara now asks on this pshat, if this is the pshat on this brayse, ve'ela ha da Amar Rabbi Elazar said, we had this earlier in the Masechta, that if a man tells a woman, "Iskatchili b'moneh," here I'm being mekadesh you with $100, v'nasan lo dinner, and he only gave her $1. Harezu mukadeshes. Rabbi Elazar says she's mukadeshes even though he's missing $99. And v'yashlim. And then he has to give her the rest later, but she'll be mukadeshes right away. So shall we say that what Rabbi Elazar says is now here in this brayse? That's the pshat in this brayse, and it's an argument here in this brayse. Here the brayse basically says a similar thing. He says he's going to give her 100, he only gave her 99, and there's an argument if she's mukadeshes or not. So the Gemara answers it's not the same thing. Omri, they explained, if he said he's giving her $100 and he ends up giving her 99, that's where you can say there's a svara that she's embarrassed to ask for that extra dollar. It's just $1, so she's embarrassed about it to come and make a big deal about it to ask for it. The case Rabbi Elazar spoke about, he said he's giving her $100 and he ends up giving her 99. She's not embarrassed to ask that. If he only gave her $1 out of $100, for sure she's going to go and ask it from him, and she relies in it, and she'll be mekadeshes. Meisvei, the Gemara here brings another brayse, a question on Rab that said that you can't be mekadesh a woman with a loan, that he lent her money before. Person says to a woman, I'm being mekadesh you with the object that I gave you as a deposit that you should hold for me, a pekadin. Sheyeshli biyadcha that you have in my hands, and he's saying to her, this pekadin that I gave you, you can keep it for the Kiddushin. Now she goes, she discovers that this object that she's holding for this man got stolen or it got lost, so it's not even there anymore. So he's not mekadesher with anything. So the halach is in the shtayr and menishava pruta, if from this item you have at least a value of a pruta that's left, then mekadeshes she'll be mekadeshes with that value of a shava pruta that's still there. Lav and mekadeshes. If it's all stolen and gone, so then she's not mekadeshes. It's not here anymore. And the Brisa says, Ubimilve, if he's telling her that he's being Mekadesh with a loan of money that he lent her from before, so over here, even if from that loan she spent it all already, and now the man comes and says, I'm meichel you the payment of that loan. Nevertheless, Mekadeshes, she'll still be Mekadeshes. And Rashi says here, this is clearly not like Rav said. And she'll be Mekadeshes because she gets a certain hana from this. The fact that he's being meichel this loan, she gets a hana, and the value of that hana is a shava pruta. She will be Mekadeshes. Rab Shimon ben Elazar, Mishum Rab Meir, Rab Shimon ben Elazar says in the name of Rab Meir, Milveh, when it comes to a loan, Harehi Kipikadin. It has the same halacha as the halacha by the Pekadain, and that is only if there's something left of that money that he lent her, if she still has some remainder of that money that she didn't spend yet, then she could be Mekadeshes with this loan. Otherwise, she will not be Mekadeshes. Okay, so here we say clearly, according to both opinions, that they say that you can be Mekadesh with a loan, as the Gemara explains. At kan pligi, the argument here between the Tanakama and Rab Meir, Ela, Demar Savar, the Tanakama says, Milva, you can be Mekadesh a woman with a loan. Even though there's nothing left of that money that you lent her. You meichel the payment of the loan, and she's Mekadeshes. Omar Savar, Rab Meir says, there has to be something left of that money that you lent her, and if there's nothing left, then she will not be Mekadeshes. Aval, the Kula Alme, Mekadesh b'milva Mekadeshes. Everybody agrees that you can be Mekadesh with a loan. That's what the Bryce here says. So on this question, Omar Rave said, V'tizbere, is this a svara? Should we prove anything from this brayse? Do you think that this brayse is acceptable? It's correct, the halacha that it says there? What it says in this brayse must be a mistake. We have a wrong version of this brayse. There's something wrong with the halacha of this brayse. And Rava goes on to prove it. He starts with the beginning of the brayse. Hi, pekadin, hey chidami. When it says in the beginning of the brayse that the man tells the woman, I'm being mekadesh you with a pekadin that you have in your possession from me. What's the case here? If he gave her this pekadain and she took responsibility that if it would get stolen or lost, she's going to pay him for that. That's a shem esachar, or even if she's a shem echinim, she took the responsibility that she'll pay if it gets lost. If so, says the Gemara, hainu milveh. Isn't that the exact same thing as a loan? Because the moment it gets lost, now she owes him the value of that object. And if he comes and tells her, I'm being Mekadesh you here with this Pekadain, what he's basically saying is, I'm being Meichel you that payment that you owe me. So if the Tanoim of this Braisa hold that you could be Mekadesh with a loan, as the Gemara just proved, so even in the Reisha of the Braisa, why did it say in the Reisha of the Braisa that if she discovers that this Pekadain is gone, there's no Kidushin, why not? If she owes him to pay back to him, and he's being Meichel her, this that she owes him to pay back, so then she should be Mekadeshes. It's the same like a Milveh. And so what are you going to tell me? In the Reish, it's speaking about a case that if she got this deposit, this pekadin, and she didn't take any responsibility for it. If it's gone, she has no responsibility to pay it back. It got stolen, right? Let's say she's a shem echinam. She would only be responsible for a pshia, for negligence. But it got stolen or lost, she has no responsibility for it. So if it's gone, she cannot be mekadeshes. That explains the din of the reisha. But now, says the Gemara, there's still a problem with this brayse. But if that's the pshare, the toni sefer. Why in the next case of the brayse does it go to a different case? It says ubimilve, by a loan. Afal pisha lo nishtari and meneshava pruda, that if you lent her money, even if there's nothing left of the money, mikudeshes, she would be Mekadeshes because the loan over here, this is money that she still owes him. And if he's Mekadesh her with this, she has a no from the fact that she's being Meichel D'Chayiv. Why does it have to go to a case of a loan? Nifloig v'nisni bidida. The Braisa could stick to the case of a Pekadain, and it can make a distinction regarding the Pekadain itself. And it could say as follows: when do I say that if she discovers that this pekadin is gone, that she's not mekadeshes because there's nothing left of it anymore? If she didn't take any responsibility, so she doesn't owe him anything, and it's gone, so she's not mekadeshes. If she took responsibility to pay if it got stolen or lost, so then even if it's gone, even if it's not here, mikudeshes, she still will be mikudeshes. Why? Because she owes him the value of this pekadin that got lost, and he's being meichel her the payment of what she owes her, what she owes him. So the Braisa could have made a distinction regarding the pekadin itself. So therefore, the version we have it in the Braisa in front of us is a mistake. Elo, says the Gemara, Teritz Hachi, you have to read the version of the Braisa as follows. When it spoke about a milveh, it said the exact opposite, like Rav said. Ube milveh, when it comes to a loan, even if she does have, it's still money left from this loan, a shava prute, eina mukadeshes. Nevertheless, she will not be mukadeshes, like Rav said. Because when it comes to a loan, even if this part of the money is still left there, she will not be mukadeshes, because the loan is made to spend, and it's her money. He can't be mukadesher with her money. And on that, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Mishum Rab Meir, milveh harehi kipikadain, that milveh has the halacha of a pikadon, which means that if there's still some money left of the milveh, she will be mukadeshes even with a milveh. That's what Rav Meir is saying, which actually ends up meaning that it sounds like that the din that Rav said that you can't be mekadesh with a loan is now a machlokes tanoim. The Tanakama is saying that you can never be mekadesh with a milveh, and Rab Meir is saying as long as there's something left from money of this milveh, you could be mekadesh with a milveh, even though the milveh was given to spend. So if she has that money, it's her money. But Rab Meir is saying if there's some of that money left, you could be mekadesh with a milveh. So now the Gemara explains this point. So now what's the machlokes between the Tanakama and Rab Meir? And what the Gemara means to ask is, it seems like the machlokes here is on this halacha of Rav. They're arguing whether you can be mekadesh with a milvah or not. So we sort of only answered Rav's opinion partially. We explained how the Tanakama agrees to Rav, but it still l'chayra comes out that this is a machlokes tanaim whether mekadesh b'milvah is mekadeshes or not. So the Gemara now says, no, there's a different shot over here. The case of this Braisa is not what Rav was speaking about. Omar Rabbe said, Ashkechtinu l'Rabbana b'bei Rav. I found the Talmidim, the Rabbana that were learning in the Bismedrish, the Yosvi v'Ka'amri, and they were sitting and they explained the pshat of this Braisa as follows. That over here, what it's talking about is, b'milveh b'reshus bailim l'chazara, that over here, this is a loan. He lent her money, and that money that he lent her, she has every single penny of the loan that he gave her. She didn't spend one penny of it. He gave her $100. The same $100 as is still there. Now the shaila is that she didn't touch the money yet. Do I say b'reshus bailam lechazara? When a person lends money, could he retract from this? Could the person that lent the money, the malva, decide, I lent you money. I'm sorry. I decided I need the money today. I need it. And could he take back the loan? Why? Because she didn't spend any of the money yet. She didn't touch it yet. And v'hu adin la'insin. And similar, a shaila would be, what happens, this money that he lent her, and she didn't touch the money yet, and now a oinus happened. Something happened, and by a oinus, without anyone's control, it got lost, the money. Who's going to be responsible for this? Do we say that because she didn't use or touch the money yet, so the malva that lent the money, he could retract from this loan? And also, if anything goes wrong here, if it gets lost by an oinus, it's going to be his problem. It's going to be the owner's problem, because she didn't touch it yet. Kamiflagi, that's what the basis of the argument over here is. The Mar Savar, so the first opinion in this Braise that says that you cannot be Mekadesh with this loan is because they say Milve B'Rishus Loivekaima. When she gets the money of the loan, even if she didn't spend a penny of it yet, it's all intact as is. But nevertheless, the moment she gets the money, it's hers. It's completely hers to spend, even though she didn't spend it yet. And the same thing, if any oinus occurs and the money gets lost, somehow it's going to be her responsibility to pay it back. So once it's all hers, so you can't be mekadesh with this money. Omar Savar, but the opinion of Rab Meir is milve b'reshus bailam kaim. If she didn't touch this money yet, so then, even though money of a loan is made to spend, but if she didn't touch it yet, the bailim, the owner, the malva that lent the money, could still take it back. He could still retract from this whole loan. And the same thing also, if any oinus occurs, it's going to be his problem, because it's still like it's in his possession. So therefore, he could be mekadesher with this money. This is still her. This is still his money that he's giving her. So basically, the point that the Gemara is saying over here is, when Rav said you cannot be mekadesh a woman with a loan, that's if she spends something from the money. If she spent one penny, something from the loan, so then that's already hers, and he can't be mekadesh her with it. The Bryce here was speaking about when he gave her this money of a loan, and she didn't touch it yet. In such a case, as a machlokes, if this money is now in her possession, or it's still in the malva's possession. That was the pshat that the students said in the Bismedrish. Now, Rave argues in a prat of this. Rave says, and I told them, le'oinsim, as far as this detail, if a oinus happens to this money, who's responsible to retrieve this money? Kula amale pligi, everybody agrees, the brishos loive kaimi, that here, this woman, the borrower, it's going to be in her possession. She has the responsibility for this. My time, what's the reason for this? Legara mishaela. It's not going to be any worse, any less than when you borrow an object. Ma'ashaela, when it comes to borrowing an object, so when you borrow an object, that object itself you give back. You don't spend it and get you. It's not like money, right? So the object itself you give back. The hodra be'ina, you have to give it back as is. Chayiv b'insin, over there the halacha is if you borrow a tool or a keli, whatever it is, you're chayiv in any aynus that happens to it from the moment that it comes in your possession. Milve, if you get money, which is given to you much more, it's given to you to the extent that you're allowed to spend it, like kol shekain, definitely, as soon as it comes into your possession, even before you spend any of it, for sure you have the responsibility for any aynus that happens. Ela Rava said, Hoche milve berishus bailim lechazare ikke beinayu. The only thing they're arguing about is the point that we said before, if the money was not spent yet, in whose possession is it? Could the lender retract from this loan and therefore it's still his money, or could he not retract from this loan and therefore belongs to the leva? So now the Gemara here, we'll finish off with this point here, the last point here. The Gemara comes and brings on this point here that we just said, that when you receive money for a loan, so there's a machlokes over here if the lender could retract from this or not. So the ela ha the amar avhune hashoyel kordem mechaveirei. Person borrows a kordem. What's a kordem? What do they have there? A hatchet, I think it is.
Hatchet, yeah.
Okay, a person borrows a hatchet from his friend. Bika boy, if he already used it to chop wood with it. So kanai. So then he acquired it, and he's going to be responsible for whatever happened to it, and the person that lent it to him cannot decide to go back on this. Let's say he says, I'm lending it to you for 10 days. And then he wants to take it back before 10 days. Once the borrower used it, so now, once he used it, the lender cannot retract from this. But loy bika, but if he didn't use it yet, loy kana, you didn't acquire it yet, and he could retract from this. Leimek tanoi. Shall we say that this halacha that Avuna said is a machlokes tanoim? Because here, regarding a money loan, we said that if he didn't spend any of the money yet, it's a machlokes. If the husband here that wanted to be Mekadosh Isha, whether he could retract from this money that he gave her or not. So again, Leimek Tanoi, Amr L'Shmaite. Rav Huna said his halacha, and it's a machlokes tanoim here in this brayse. So the Gemara explains it's not the same thing. Loi at kan le pligi ela b'milve. The argument was only regarding a money loan. The lehadra be'ina. Since a money loan, when you get that money, you don't give back necessarily the actual money itself. You spend the money and you give back other money. So in such a case, there's an argument if she didn't spend the money yet, whether the person that lent her the money could take it back or not. Avol b'sheila, the hadra be'ina. But when it comes to lending a object, where it's this very object that goes back to the lender, divrei yakayil, here everybody will agree, bika boy, only once the borrower used it, so then he acquires it for this loan for the 10 days that he can't retract from anymore. Then you can't retract. Loy bika boy, but if it was not used yet, and it's this very object that has to go back to the lender, so then loy kanoi. You weren't kainet and you could retract from this loan.